I guess that's the story of the week, right? It's been one where we've seen markets of all types roiled. So has this pushed NAB traders to the side, or are they chomping at the bit to get to those opportunities out there? Joining us from nabtrade is Gemma Dale. She's got all of the knowledge, all of the data. Gemma, welcome.
Thank you.
What kind of a week was it?
It's been interesting. We kind of, that whole buy the dip mentality we've been talking about for so long.
Yeah.
Our guys, like, they threw everything at the market 2 years ago when there was that glorious dip that they love so much. And they have bought the dip since, but they're starting to lose their energy a bit. They're going, I feel like this is a lot of dips in a row. Maybe this is too many dips for me. Maybe there are going to be more dips. So it's starting to weaken a little bit. You're just not seeing the same strength that we were seeing. The one thing we do see every single time there's a sell-off is that the, I want to say Vanguard specifically, ASX 200 ETF is in there. The ETFs in general are in there consistently, but it's not huge volumes. That is clearly people who go, every time it's off 1.5%, I'm going to buy some, I'm just going to buy an ETF. That's what I'm going to do. And you just keep seeing that consistently. That's the one thing that really has shown through in the last 12 months. But everything else is starting to just drift back a bit.
So a little bit more normalised trade. I can see here in the notes that you provided though, Westpac 94% buy. Was that results related, or what are we seeing there potentially?
They love Westpac.
They
This
love
is really,
Westpac.
they love it.
Yeah,
And it's quite an extraordinary thing. It started becoming the bank of choice back at the beginning of last year, so 2021. There was a sort of reversion to the mean story. It's been beaten up, it's got to come back. Then they had their annual results and they were like, oh wow, okay, they're going to come back eventually, surely they'll start coming back. And yet, you know, results, they're going to buy it again. So it just seems to be the one they're consistently buying. We see a little bit of interest in CBA when it hits $100. If it's well below $100, they're quite keen on it because they've been around that 110 mark before, and if they see it getting anywhere near that, they'll trim it. NAB, they're not sure what to do with it at all. Above $30 is very confusing for them, so they leave it alone at this stage, and ANZ's not in there either. So it's all about Westpac at the moment.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm just sort of thinking literally how you sort of assess that. Is that people just looking at like a chart with an overlay with the PE multiples and going, well, that's a discount, I'm going to buy that. Is it just basically what you reckon?
I think that's very, very possible. They always would prefer to buy the weakest in a sector, and it's a sector they love, and it makes so much sense to them. So they're kind of like, I'll just get that one and keep getting it. It'll come back, I'll keep getting it. It's been interesting. Surprises me it's as strong as it's been, actually, to be honest.
Well, I want to know about Macquarie.
Yeah, they're loving Macquarie.
Yeah.
Under 180, just adore Macquarie. It was always one of our high concentration stocks. So we had the three. Fortescue, CSL and Macquarie were the three that were only held by less than 10% of our investors, but in just huge volumes. And it was because they bought them cheap and then just held them forever and had done extraordinarily well. But because others have seen those long runs up and they're like, I would like some of that. I remember when CSL was at $350 and Macquarie was nearly $220, and I've seen these things go really high. They've come back. There's obviously an opportunity to get in. Macquarie's the one where they're just loving it at the moment, and there's just buying day after day in the 80-90% range.
And the story may have turned a little bit too for Magellan.
Magellan's really hard to pick, to be honest with you. Like, it's amazing to me how many people have bought it on the way down. Our guys, they love a bit of weakness. They love something that's beaten up. They want to see it come back, but there's been a lot of weakness there, right? Like that's been a falling knife story for quite a while. But they're very familiar with Hamish Douglas. They're very familiar with the story in general. So they've chased it all the way down. We've seen a little bit of buying. They hopefully will probably take a bit of profit. Maybe not profit. They might trim today.
Okay. When it comes to the tech space, this is always the question. Baby bathwater bargains. Xero did post a loss yesterday. It did get sold off quite a lot. I mean, it was extraordinary to see it go to 100, 90, 80. What have NAB traders been doing?
Xero is not frequently in our numbers, and that's quite interesting to me in that it's a relatively tangible tech stock. There's a lot of tech that's a little bit harder to understand. A WiseTech or something like that doesn't make as much sense to a retail investor, but Xero, they've probably seen it and used it at some point, and they love the ones that are tangible and it's a good brand and all that kind of stuff. We don't see huge buying in it at any particular point in time. Yesterday's numbers, though, that was enough. That was the first time in a while we've seen, do you know what, I'm going to grab some of that. Not as much as you would expect, but certainly some people dragged out, happy to pick some up at this price.
And a lot of investors too still fairly bullish on the commodity space, it would seem. I can see BHP and Fortescue. I've been told a high beta play on the iron ore miners. Still seeing a lot of buying.
Yeah, heaps. So Fortescue is our high value trading stock of choice, and it has been for about 18 months, and they love it, and
Nothing
they keep trading.
changes.
No, look, it has only been 18 months. Before that, it was something else, and it will drift away eventually. When you see iron ore come back, eventually, they will stop. But for now, it keeps working for them, and as long as it keeps working, they'll do it. BHP, they were trimming at sort of $53, $45. They're all over it. They're loving that, and they're very happy to pick it up at that price. They're like, I want more.
So when you look at the dynamics, and I think that you were kind of alluding to that earlier, Kyle, I mean, this is a very uncertain trading environment for most people. A lot of people aren't quite sure what's going to happen next. Do you get a sense that that is the feeling out there amongst NAB traders? I know that you've talked about, just a little bit less enthusiasm, a little bit less energy. You're not seeing any signs of panic, though.
There's no panicking. I mean, it's worth noting like 50% of our base have started trading or investing in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So they came in during and post-COVID. This is a very new experience for them. And yes, people are saying they had lunches longer than the COVID crash, right? Like that was a very extraordinary experience. Down so fast, back so quickly. People made a ton of money, right? We had very few investors who lost money during that period. Heaps of people who made money. Even our sort of longest holders had cash on the sidelines and they flooded in. So people did so well. They were buying the dips late last year, early this year. It's up 3-4%. This is really exciting. It's not coming back though, and I sort of hope that would happen. That's been my experience. So we're seeing a little drifting to the sidelines. I was saying a few weeks ago, what we are seeing is our more mature, older investors who have seen this before. They're the ones who get in and make big plays, and they're after Westpac and BHP and Fortescue. Those guys are rotating through those ones. We have seen some interest in CSL, although to be honest, it's been low and bouncing for a while, so they get less excited. They're the ones after Macquarie. So they're the ones who are going, I'm happy to take a bet at this point. Lots of the others are like, what the hell is going on? I think I'll just sit tight for a while.
You realize that it's in this environment that information, that content is king, really. Gemma Dale, thank you as always for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Great to see you guys.